Picture this: a Chicago studio buzzing with raw energy, spotlights blazing, cameras gliding over a crowd crackling with anticipation. From bustling New York lofts to sleepy Melbourne suburbs, millions are glued to the Daily Pulse, the talk show where drama sparks legends. Where are you watching from, and what's the clock ticking there? Smash that subscribe button, drop your country and time zone below, and dive into this epic clash with us. Aisha Carter, 28, strides onto the stage, her teal blazer flashing under the lights, a tribute to her Detroit grit. Raised in a city scarred yet stubborn, she spun childhood scribbles into Carter Creations, a multi-million-dollar empire. But her true fire burns brighter. Rise Up Detroit, a movement empowering young women of color to launch their own ventures. In these first electric minutes, her story isn't just inspiring. It's a high-stakes duel unfolding live. Her opponent? Vanessa Reed, known as V, the host whose razor tongue crafts viral chaos. Will Aisha soar or stumble? Don't look away. This opening grabs you tight. Aisha's roots lie in Detroit's East Side, where hope wrestled ruin. Her mother, Denise, worked grueling shifts at a diner, her hands calloused but her love fierce, raising Aisha and her younger brother Malik on sheer will. Between algebra homework and Malik's bedtime stories, Aisha sketched business ideas on napkins, old receipts, whatever she could find, dreaming of something bigger than their cramped apartment. At 16, she saw her neighbors' brilliance. Poets, coders, seamstresses, ignored by a world that didn't look their way. By 20, she was hustling custom phone cases online, reinvesting every cent with a focus that burned. 5 years later, Carter Creations was born, hiring local talent and raking in millions, a beacon of what's possible. But Aisha's heart never left the girls she grew up with, the ones told their dreams were too bold for their zip code. Rise Up, Detroit became her vow. Mentorship, seed funding, a sisterhood to lift them up. Now, at 28, she steps into a national spotlight, her blazer a nod to the Detroit River's unyielding flow. The cameras catch her steady gaze, but her stomach churns. She's here to fight for every underdog ever written off. Vanessa Reed, though, is no ordinary foe. V's a global force, worshipped and feared from Toronto to Tokyo. Fans adore her fearless sparring with tycoons and politicians, her quick wit slicing through pretense. Critics brand her a provocateur, addicted to stirring storms for ratings. Aisha shrugs off the hype. She's faced worse. Loan officers who scoffed at her pitches, suppliers who ghosted, skeptics who saw only her skin and not her steel. Kissing Denise goodbye, she boarded her flight to Chicago, her talking points memorized. Rise Up's impact, her vision of a world where talent triumphs over barriers. The studio's a spectacle. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the skyline, a set pulsing with high stakes. Aisha's ready to preach equity, community, and second chances, to show what's possible when you bet on the overlooked. But V has other plans, her eyes gleaming with a challenge designed to test Aisha's resolve and turn this interview into a showdown the world won't forget. The air's thick with tension. Here we go. Aisha strides in, exuding quiet power. The crew scrambles. The audience, a mix of Chicago locals and far-flung travelers, leans forward, sensing something big. Her teal blazer pops against the set's sleek blacks and reds, a statement of pride. "You're absolutely radiant," the makeup artist gushes, brushing blush across her cheeks. Aisha laughs it off, though nerves hum beneath her calm, a low buzz she's learned to harness. She's rehearsed her points. Stats on Rise Up Detroit's 15 funded startups. The story of a mentee whose candle business now graces Target shelves. A vision of a future where every girl with a dream can build it. The stage lights flare as V rises, all charisma and sharp edges, her smile a polished blade. "Aisha Carter, everyone," she booms, drowning out the polite applause. "Detroit's rising star, shaking up the business world. Welcome, Aisha." Aisha nods, settling into the guest chair with the confidence of someone who's talked her way into boardrooms and out of debt. Thanks, V. I'm thrilled to be here and share what we're building back home. The first few minutes breeze by. Aisha paints a vivid picture. A kid with a hustle, a city clawing back from decay, a business born from late nights and big ideas. She speaks of selling her first phone case at a local market, reinvesting every dime, and how Carter Creations now employs dozens of Detroiters, each a thread in her city's comeback. V nods along, tossing easy questions. How'd you land your first big deal? What's it like running a company so young? All within Aisha's wheelhouse. The audience is with her, clapping on cue, some cheering when she mentions her first $1 million year, a milestone that feels like a middle finger to every doubter. For viewers at home, perhaps sipping tea in London or stuck in LA traffic, this is an inspiring moment. A young woman succeeding against the odds, her warmth filling the screen. But then the talk shifts to Rise Up Detroit, and V's demeanor changes. Her smile lingers, but her eyes narrow. A signal fans know means trouble. So, Aisha, she says, tilting her head in that signature way that spells danger, your program helps young women of color. Do you think it's needed because people just aren't trying hard enough on their own? The question hits like a dart, sharp and unexpected. The studio air thickens. Some audience members lean forward, others squirm, sensing the shift. Aisha pauses, her calm intact, and meets V's gaze head-on. No, V, she replies evenly, her voice clear and grounded. It's not about effort. It's about leveling a playing field that's been uneven for too long. We're giving them a real shot, not a handout. The crowd erupts, cheers and nods rippling through, a wave of support that feels like Detroit's own heartbeat. V's grin widens, but her eyes stay cold. She's just warming up, and Aisha can feel the heat rising, a test of her mettle only beginning. The studio lights burn brighter as Aisha Carter's real shot line lands, igniting a roar from the crowd. Vanessa Reed, V, sits unfazed, her posture relaxed but her smirk razor-edged, her voice a smooth challenge that's hooked viewers from Sydney to Sao Paulo. I hear you, Aisha, she says, pausing for effect, letting the tension simmer. But isn't all this talk about uneven fields just an excuse? People, millions across the globe, pull themselves up by their bootstraps every day, don't they? Isn't that the core of ambition? It's a classic V move, tapping into the universal myth of solo success, the idea that grit alone can conquer all. The audience splits. Some clap, nodding at the familiar mantra of self-reliance that echoes from American heartlands to Asian megacities. Others shift uncomfortably, perhaps living in realities where hard work slams into invisible walls. Aisha doesn't flinch. She's heard this argument in 1,000 forms, on factory floors where her mom toiled, in classrooms where teachers preached effort over opportunity, at community meetings where skeptics questioned her mission. At 28, her Detroit-honed resilience is her armor. She leans forward slightly, her teal blazer catching the light, and flashes a smile that's warm but unyielding. V, bootstraps are inspiring. I get it, she says, her Detroit drawl softening the edge. But what if your boots don't have laces? What if they're hand-me-downs, too small, or snatched before you can even try? A ripple of laughter breaks through the crowd, a few mm-hms popping up from the back, voices that know her truth. She presses on, her voice steady. Rise up. Detroit isn't about excuses. It's about making sure every girl gets boots that fit so she can walk her own path, not mine, not yours, theirs. The applause swells, a rolling wave of claps and cheers that feels like a Midwest thunderstorm crashing in. V's fingers tap the armrest, her grin tightening. She'd landed a punch, but Aisha dodged and swung back harder. For viewers, maybe grabbing coffee in Dublin or streaming on a phone in Mumbai, this is more than TV. It's a global debate about what success demands, played out in real time. Inside, Aisha's heart races, though her face betrays nothing. She's not just battling V, she's carrying her mother's sacrifices, Malik's dreams of college, the girls she mentors who text her at midnight with ideas and fears. Every word she speaks is a promise to them, but a quiet doubt gnaws. Is she saying enough or too much? Will her truth reach the skeptical or be twisted into something else? Her calm is a practiced shield, forged in years of being the exception, in rooms where she was the only one, of proving her worth to those who assumed she had none. V, too, is no caricature. She's layered, complex, a woman shaped by her own battles. Raised in a working-class Jersey neighborhood, Vanessa fought her way into media with a sharp mind and sharper tongue, learning early that attention, not agreement, pays the bills. Aisha's authenticity unsettles her, not because she disagrees, but because it reminds her of a younger self, one who believed in stories over stunts. Their clash isn't just personal, it's a microcosm of a world wrestling with truth versus comfort, equity versus myth, a tension that spans continents. V isn't ready to yield. She tilts her head, a move every Daily Pulse fan recognizes as her prelude to trouble. That's a clever analogy, Aisha. Boots and laces, she says, her tone dripping with just enough sarcasm to bite. But let's be honest. Focusing so much on race, on these barriers, doesn't that just divide us more? I mean, isn't the dream about coming together, one world, indivisible? The words land like a gauntlet, tapping into a universal ache for unity, a longing that fuels everything from global summits to neighborhood potlucks. The audience buzzes, a low hum of whispers and shifting bodies. Some nod, buying into the "we're all one" pitch. Others frown, perhaps thinking of communities split by lines drawn long ago, of opportunities that don't stretch evenly. Aisha takes a slow breath, her dark eyes locking onto V's. She knows this isn't just a question, it's a trap, one set to paint her as the divider in a world that loves its melting pot story, even when the pot's cracks show clear. Aisha doesn't rush her response. She's faced this pushback in pitch meetings where too specific meant too black, in debates with friends who'd urge her to broaden her vision, even in her own moments of doubt, wondering if she's alienating allies by speaking plain. But at 28, she's learned to stand firm, not with rage, but with a clarity that cuts deeper. Unity's a beautiful word, V. She starts, her voice calm but resonant, like a bell ringing true, and I'm all for it. But you can't build a bridge if you pretend the river's not there. Ignoring race or any gap doesn't bring us together. It leaves half the world stranded on the other side. The studio goes quiet for a heartbeat, then explodes. Claps thunder, a few "That's right" shouts break through, the energy raw and real. It's not just a soundbite, it's a gut punch to the idea that glossing over differences fixes anything. For viewers, whether in a Cape Town bar or a Chicago cubicle, this hits home. A world of billions, sprawling across borders, wrestling daily with what together even means. V blinks, caught off guard for a split second. Rare for her, a crack in her polished armor. The audience was hers to command, but Aisha's stealing the room, her words landing like seeds in fertile ground. The tension's palpable. Where does this go next? The studio's electric now. Aisha Carter's Bridge Over the River line sending the crowd, Chicago locals and global travelers, into a frenzy of applause, their cheers bouncing off the sleek set. Vanessa Reed's losing her edge, but she's no novice. She recovers fast, leaning back with a smirk that's more armor than warmth, her voice dropping into a syrupy skepticism that's hooked viewers from Berlin to Bogota. "Okay, Aisha, you're good with words," she says, pausing to let the compliment double as a jab. "But let's cut to it. Programs like yours, people say they breed dependency. You're giving these girls a leg up. How's that not just teaching them to rely on handouts instead of standing tall?" The question's a Molotov cocktail, lobbed straight at Aisha's mission, tapping into a global obsession with self-reliance that runs from American prairies to African marketplaces. The crowd hushes, a few murmurs rippling. Some nod, buying into the make-it-on-your-own ethos. Others tense, maybe living lives where the ground shifts underfoot no matter how hard they stand. Aisha's brow lifts, just a flicker, but her composure is steel forged in Detroit's toughest corners. She's heard this critique in 100 forms, on X threads accusing her of coddling, from investors who'd rather fund tech bros than her girls, even from well-meaning neighbors who'd say, "Why not let him figure it out like you did?" At 28, she's young enough to feel the sting, old enough to turn it into fuel. She smiles, a small, knowing curve, and locks eyes with V. "Dependency, huh?" she says, her tone calm but laced with a quiet fire that could light up a room. "Let me flip that for you, V. When a bank gives a small business a loan, or when governments bail out big corporations, is that dependency, or is it a chance to grow, rise up?" Detroit isn't handing out crutches, it's handing out toolkits. These girls aren't leaning, they're building, and not just for themselves. They're hiring, innovating, lifting their communities. The audience breaks into applause, a rolling wave of claps and "Yes, ma'am" shouts that feels like a Detroit street festival in full swing. V's fingers freeze mid-tap on the armrest. She'd expected a fumble, not a home run. For viewers, maybe watching in a Seoul cafe or a Texas truck stop, this is the kind of moment that sparks group chats and bar debates. Is Aisha redefining strength, or is V poking holes in a shaky plan? Aisha's not just debating, she's honoring vows. She thinks of Jada, her mentee, coding apps in a bedroom with peeling paint, of Kayla, sketching fashion designs between shifts at a corner store. Failing them would haunt her more than any viral clip. Her poise hides a tempest. Years of being underestimated, of navigating spaces where her presence was a question mark, of proving her worth to those who'd already decided it. V's no one-dimensional foe either. She's a product of her own scars. Growing up in a Jersey row house, Vanessa learned to wield her wit like a weapon, climbing from local radio to global fame by knowing exactly how to push buttons. Aisha's clarity unsettles her, not because it's wrong, but because it mirrors a V who once wanted to tell stories, not just start fights. Their clash is bigger than this studio. It's a world grappling with whether to face its fractures or paper over them, a tension that stretches from Detroit's blocks to Jakarta's streets. V isn't backing down. She uncrosses her arms, leaning forward now, her eyes glinting with the kind of challenge that's made her a household name. "You're good, Aisha. Really good," she says, her voice dropping an octave, smooth but sharp. "But here's the thing. All this focus on race, on black girls specifically, doesn't that just keep us divided? Some might even say it's segregation all over again, just with a prettier name. Isn't that ironic, coming from someone who claims she's all about community?" The words hit like a thunderclap, a deliberate twist that turns Aisha's mission into something ugly, tapping into a raw global nerve. The long shadow of division, the endless tug-of-war over what unites or breaks us. The audience gasps, audible, sharp, a collective intake of breath that echoes from the front row to the back. A few heads shake, others freeze, stunned by the accusation's weight. V sits back, her smirk returning, letting the question fester like a wound. The studio feels like a pressure cooker, the air thick with unresolved tension, resolution nowhere in sight. Aisha's jaw tightens for a split second, just long enough for the cameras to catch it, before she steadies herself. She's felt this kind of jab before, growing up in a city where history's scars still bled, where her very existence was sometimes called too much. She thinks of her mom, Denise, scrubbing tables to afford her school supplies, of Jada facing hurdles no kid should. At 28, she's learned to take the hits and turn them into something stronger, not with anger, but with a truth that cuts clean. She glances at the audience, drawing a slow breath, then faces V head-on. "Ironic," she says, her voice slow and deliberate, carrying the weight of every girl she's promised to fight for, a weight that spans generations and borders. What's ironic is calling it segregation when we're opening doors that have been bolted shut for centuries. Segregation was about keeping people out. My work's about bringing them in, giving them what's been denied too long. The crowd erupts, a roar of applause and stomping feet that shakes the floor like an earthquake. She doesn't stop. And the real irony, V? When we try to fix what's broken, systems, not people, We get called divisive, but you can't heal a wound if you won't even look at it. The cheers hit a fever pitch, some standing, hands clapping red, a wave of raw emotion that feels like a global rallying cry. V's smirk falters, her polished armor cracking. She'd pushed too hard, and Aisha's turned it into a manifesto, a call that resonates far beyond this stage. The studio's a cauldron now. Aisha Carter's Heal a Wound, rallying cry sending the audience, Chicagoans and international visitors, into a standing ovation, their cheers thundering like a storm. Vanessa Reed's control is slipping, her usual command fraying at the edges, but she's a seasoned fighter. She straightens in her chair, forcing a smile that's more grit than grace, her voice smooth but brittle as she goes for broke. "You've got an answer for everything, Aisha," she says, her tone laced with a mix of admiration and venom. "But let's talk fairness. Hardworking people, white, Latino, Asian, whoever, see your program and think, what about me? How's that fair when the world's supposed to give everyone an equal shot?" It's her last big swing, a plea to the universal hunger for fairness, a question crafted to paint Aisha as the bad guy in a globe that prides itself on all are welcome. The studio tenses, eyes darting between the two women, a low buzz of whispers rising. V's tapped a nerve. The fear that someone's gain is another's loss, a sore spot from American suburbs to African villages. Aisha blinks, not shocked, but feeling the weight of the moment. She's answered this question in 100 ways. In Detroit, community centers where folks demanded inclusion. On podcasts where hosts pressed her to explain. In quiet moments when she wondered if her focus was too narrow. At 28, she's learned to cut through noise with precision, to turn traps into revelations. She straightens in her chair, hands clasped, her voice low and unshakable. "Fair," she says, letting the word hang like a challenge, her eyes locked on V's. "Let me ask you this, V. When a firefighter douses a house that's burning, do we call it unfair to the houses still standing, or do we thank them for saving the block?" The room goes still. Not a cough, not a shuffle, just pure electric silence, the kind that makes history. "Rise up. Detroit is putting out fires," she continues, her voice steady but alive. Fires of neglect, of overlooked talent, of chances stolen before they're even born. And when those girls thrive, it's not subtraction. It's addition. Jobs, dreams, strength for everyone. V opens her mouth, but Aisha raises a hand. Not rude, just firm, her presence commanding the stage. "And let's be real. Fairness isn't the issue here, it's comfort. Whose comfort are we guarding? Whose struggle are we okay ignoring? If righting a wrong shakes things up, that's a shake we need." The audience explodes. Standing ovations, hollers, a tidal wave of sound that feels like the world itself shouting back. V freezes, her usual quips vanished, her control shattered. For viewers, whether in a Paris cafe or a Georgia porch, this isn't just a win. It's a revelation, a moment that flips the narrative and leaves V speechless, Aisha triumphant, and the globe buzzing with questions. Aisha's victory isn't just verbal, it's visceral, personal, a vindication of her city's scars and her own sleepless nights. She sees her mom's tired smile after a double shift, Jada's late-night texts about her app, Kayla's sketches piling up in a notebook. Each clap is for them, but a whisper of doubt lingers. What if her words are weaponized, her mission misread? She's not invincible. Her strength comes from fear, the kind that pushes her to keep going because stopping would betray those faces. V's not a villain. She's a mirror of a world addicted to spectacle. Raised in Jersey's hustle, Vanessa built her empire on provocation, but Aisha's truth cracks something deeper, stirring a flicker of the idealist V buried under layers of cynicism. Their clash is a global fault line. One woman demands we face the brakes, another fears naming them undoes the dream. The stakes, equity, resentment, repair, make this more than a TV segment. It's a snapshot of a world at a crossroads, from Detroit's streets to Manila's markets. The segment ends, the cameras cutting to commercials, but the energy lingers like static. Aisha exhales, her teal blazer damp with sweat, her heart still racing but her resolve unshaken. V manages a nod, a grudging respect in her eyes. She's lost this round, but she's no quitter, already plotting her next move. Off stage, producers scramble, knowing they've got lightning in a bottle. For viewers, maybe streaming in a Tokyo dorm or a Chicago bar, this is the kind of moment that demands a pause, a text to a friend, a question. Is Aisha right, or is V onto something? The world's watching, and the conversation's just begun, a spark that won't fade with the screen. The Daily Pulse set goes dark, but Aisha Carter's triumph lights up the world. Social media erupts. Aisha Carter trends globally, her "putting out fires" line ricocheting across X, TikTok, and Instagram, racking up millions of views. She dismantled V, one post screams, with 300,000 likes and counting. A teen in Jakarta captions a clip. "Aisha's why I'm starting my fashion line." And from Canadian prairies to Brazilian favelas, people are talking. Group chats buzz, co-workers debate over lunch, radio hosts dissect the moment. Aisha's not just a guest, she's a catalyst, reshaping how the world sees help, fairness, and truth. The studio's quiet now, its chairs empty, but her words echo in homes, classrooms, and hearts, a spark that's already spreading far beyond Chicago's skyline. Aisha flies back to Detroit that night, landing in a city that feels like her heartbeat, its lights a warm embrace. She's exhausted, but grounded. Viral fame's a flicker, but impact's her fuel. The next morning, she walks into the Rise Up Detroit Community Center, a modest brick building humming with dreams. A dozen young women wait, their eyes wide with pride and possibility. Jada, 17, clutches her phone, her voice trembling. "Miss Aisha, I saw you last night. You stood up for us, for me, and now I feel like I can do anything." Aisha's heart swells, her teal blazer still creased from travel. She kneels beside Jada, her smile soft but fierce. "Jada, you don't need me for that. That fire's already in you. I'm just handing you the match." Nearby, Kayla sketches furiously, her fashion designs bolder, as if Aisha's words unlocked something new. The room nods, a quiet strength settling in, a shared belief that their dreams aren't just possible, they're inevitable. For Aisha, this is the real win. Not the trending hashtags or V's stunned silence, but the light in Jada's eyes, the confidence in Kayla's pencil, the proof her work is planting seeds that will grow. She's proud, but not naive. Fame invites scrutiny, and she knows the backlash is brewing, ready to twist her truth. Aisha's depth runs deeper than the headlines paint. She's no untouchable hero. She's human, wrestling with the fear of letting her girls down, of being reduced to a meme instead of a movement. Every step she takes is shadowed by the weight of being a symbol, a black woman from Detroit expected to be flawless yet relatable, bold yet safe. Her mom's voice echoes in her head, "Stay true, baby," a lifeline that keeps her grounded when the world's noise threatens to drown her. V's not a cartoon villain either. She's reflecting too, holed up in a Chicago hotel, replaying the interview on her laptop. Vanessa's not broken, but she's shaken. Aisha's clarity cut through her usual game, stirring memories of a Jersey girl who once wanted to amplify voices, not just spark fights. Part of V admires Aisha's nerve, even envies it, but admitting that feels like betraying the brand she's built on calculated chaos. Could she shift, lean into substance over spectacle? Their arcs weave a global tension, a hunger for change clashing with a fear of losing control, a story playing out from Detroit's corners to Delhi's streets. The impact's already rippling. In a Toronto classroom, a teacher shares Aisha's clip, prompting students to debate equity. In a Lagos market, a vendor inspired by her words mentors a young seamstress. But the pushback's growing. Pundits on cable news twist her comfort line, branding her divisive, while ex-trolls call her mission reverse discrimination. Aisha's seen it coming. Detroit taught her that truth draws fire. She's undeterred, already sketching plans to expand Rise Up Detroit to new cities, to reach more Jadas and Kaylas. Her fight's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and she's laced up for the long haul, ready to keep building no matter the noise. Aisha Carter didn't just face Vanessa Reed on the Daily Pulse, she set the stage ablaze, turning a talk show into a battle cry that's echoing worldwide. From Detroit's raw streets to a global spotlight, she carried her city's wounds, her girls' wildest dreams, and her mom's unbreakable spirit. At 28, she's a thunderbolt, proving one voice can rattle empires and spark hope in hearts from Chicago to Cape Town. But this isn't just her story. It's yours, wherever you're cheering from. Are you in Mumbai at dawn, London at lunch, or LA at midnight? Drop your city and time zone below, hit that subscribe button, and let's make some noise together. Aisha showed us the world changes when we act. So, what's your next move? Grab a coffee, lean in, and let's talk about building a future that roars. Aisha's no polished statue, she's real, her heart pounding with the fear of letting down Jada, her mentee coding through the night, or Kayla, sketching dresses that could redefine style. Detroit runs through her veins, its bankruptcies and rebirths shaping her fire. She remembers nights hunched over budgets, her mom asleep after a 12-hour shift, the weight of every choice heavy. That fear isn't her cage, it's her fuel, pushing her to speak truths others dodge, to fight for girls the world overlooks. Vanessa's not some evil queen. She's a reflection of us when we chase flash over substance. Raised in Jersey's tough corners, V scrapped her way to fame, her sharp tongue a ticket to the top. But Aisha's raw honesty shook her, waking a flicker of the dreamer V once was, a kid who wanted to tell stories that mattered. V's stumble isn't the end. It's a door to change, a chance to swap cheap shots for deep talks. Their showdown isn't just TV, it's a question screaming across borders. Do we fix what's broken or pretend it's fine? Aisha's betting on truth, grit, and love. What's your bet? The stakes aren't abstract, they're alive, breathing, urgent. Jada's app could connect communities, solve problems we haven't even named. Kayla's designs could shift how we see beauty, give voice to the unseen. These girls aren't numbers, they're the future, stuck in schools with crumbling walls, talent ignored because their addresses don't shine. Aisha's their spark, but she can't do it alone. She needs you, me, all of us. Picture this. You mentor a teen for an hour, seed a startup with a few bucks, or just listen to someone's dream. That's not charity, it's a revolution, brick by brick. Aisha's not hunting for capes or crowns. She wants builders, folks ready to patch one crack, douse one fire, lift one life. Her wave's already rolling. A Dublin barista starts a coding club inspired by her, a Sao Paulo mom tutors kids because Aisha's fire hit home. But the haters are loud. Ex-posts call her too narrow, twist her comfort line into division. Aisha laughs it off. She's from Detroit, where truth takes punches and keeps swinging. She's dreaming bigger. Rise up hubs in new cities, lifting girls from Atlanta to Accra. V's moving too, sketching a show about solutions, not just drama. They're both the world. Messy, scrappy, reaching for better. What lit you up? Aisha's fearless clapbacks, V's rare crack, or the girls daring to dream past their limits? Spill it below. Detroit, Dubai, or anywhere, we're all ears. Share this story, tweet it, text it, yell it at your next Zoom happy hour. Hit that bell, subscribe, stay hooked. More rebels, more dreamers, more fights worth joining are coming. Aisha's wake-up call is crystal. Watching won't fix the world. Doing will. Jada's coding lines that could change lives. Kayla's sketching art that could shift culture. Aisha's battling for them, for every kid told no. So here's the challenge wherever you're reading this. Tokyo at 2 a.m., Chicago at noon, Nairobi at dusk. What's one thing you can do today to make your world brighter? Teach a skill, back a hustle, or just say, I see you. That's how we win, not with likes, but with action. Let's build a future that doesn't just whisper hope, it screams it. What's your spark? Go light it.